So, Starfield is set to be one of Microsoft's and Xbox's best exclusive games in a generation, and with the game recently going gold and review copies being sent out, it's only a matter of days now until we can all get our hands on the first major Bethesda release in a number of years. And of course, more importantly, the first new gaming universe by developers in over 20 years. There is a hell of a lot of information floating about Starfield, and more is coming out on a near daily basis as we get close to the release date. So I've created this video to give you all the absolutely essential information you'll need to know for takeoff. So let's go ahead and get stuck in. So, from what we have all seen so far in a variety of hands-on demos and previews, Starfield looks set to be one of, if not the best RPG of 2023, with Baldur's Gate 3 likely battling out for the title come December, and it is officially going to arrive on our PCs and consoles on the 6th of September. Or if you have pre-ordered the collector's edition of the game, you can get your hands on it 5 days early from the 1st of September. And if you're an Xbox Game Pass subscriber, like myself, you will get the game on the 6th of September on day one release, so you don't need to fork out any extra money. Winning! So Bethesda have released the PC specs you're going to need to be able to play Starfield to its full potential, and there are no surprises here that you're going to need one hell of a beefy gaming PC to do that, along with 125 gigs of storage space. So, if you're an Xbox player dying to get your hands on it, and I'm sure there are plenty of us, then supposedly you're going to need a whopping 139GB free on your console to play the game, and that puts it higher than other giants like Red Dead Redemption 2 and the Master Chief Collection, so you best get trimming that hard drive space down. Right, so on to the game itself. As we know, the setting of Starfield is going to be Bethesda's most ambitious yet, and whilst they're no strangers to building massive open-ended and explorable gaming universes such as the Elder Scrolls and Fallout games, Starfield is going to take it to the next level. Like, literally, we're heading on out into space, people. Starfield is going to take place in the Settled Systems, which is an area that extends outwards from our very own solar system by approximately 50 light years. And of course, we're going to be able to freely explore these systems, and there are more than 100 of them with 1,000 planets, which makes this game damn big and far bigger than any of Bethesda's previous titles. In terms of timeline, the game is set to take place in the year 2330 AD, and if you want to know the backstory of the game going back almost 300 years, all you need to do is visit Starfield's official website, and there is a detailed timeline of the key events from the year 2050 all the way up to 2328, which is just 2 years before we kick off our Starfield story. I won't lay out the entire background in this video because we're going to be here for a while, but I would highly recommend you read through this timeline as it's going to give you a far better understanding of what's going on when you first get stuck into the game. So that means you're not totally confused by all the new names, factions and everything else. So beyond that, the story of Starfield itself has, thankfully, been a very closely guarded secret, but Bethesda have given us a few hints, such as we know it's going to take place in 2330, and that's 20 years after the two largest factions in the Settled Systems, so the United Colonies and the Freestar Collective, were engaged in a bloody colony war for territorial control. Our character is going to take up the role of a member of the Constellation, who are an organisation of space explorers navigating the aftermath of this war. Well, what remains of it anyway. And in classic Bethesda fashion, where we go and who we decide to side with from there is totally up to us, so there will likely be multiple endings to Starfield, which is exactly what we want from a Bethesda game. And not to mention the Starfield story is said to be 20% larger than the likes of Skyrim and Fallout 4, which just makes it even better. So, what about our character? Well, as with previous Bethesda games, Starfield has a very in-depth character creation system, and probably the most in-depth yet, so we'll definitely be spending a lot of time doing that before we even get started with anything else. One key element of character creation this time around will be our character's background and starting skills, so Bethesda are really going for the role-playing side of things here, and picking up an appropriate backstory that reflects the type of character you want to play will be key to giving you the most experience yet. It's assumed that in true Bethesda fashion, NPCs may bring up your background and skills in important story moments, and there are a good selection of backgrounds you can choose from, which give you a variety of skills with them. The first example is a diplomat, for if you'd rather spend your time in Starfield talking than shooting your way through it. This background is going to give you certain starting skills of persuasion for an increased chance of success on speech challenges, diplomacy, of course, meaning you can force an NPC at or below your level to stop fighting temporarily, and finally bargaining, which means you can buy items for 5% less and sell them for 10% more. Another example would be a combat medic, which is going to give you a pistol certification skill, meaning pistols do 10% more damage. a medicine skill, of course, meaning med packs heal 10% more, and finally a weightlifting skill, which means an increase to your total carrying capacity by 10 kilograms. So, as you can see, selecting the best background for your playstyle will be incredibly important when you're creating your character, so make sure you spend a good amount of time doing that. And character customization doesn't stop there. We can also select a few character traits that can carry both positive and negative effects to further enhance the role-playing aspects of the game. So, depending on which traits you choose, they could increase the difficulty, or of course decrease the difficulty of some aspects of the game. And these traits will also increase the replayability of Starfield when combined with other elements like selecting which factions to side with. So here are a couple examples of traits and their effects on the game. First up is alien DNA, which means you've volunteered for a controversial experiment that combines alien and human DNA. And as a result of this, you're going to start with a higher health pool and greater endurance. But the flip side is, healing items aren't going to be as effective on you. And another one is wanted, which means you'll get a damage buff when your health is low, but bounty hunters are going to randomly appear out of nowhere and try to kill you. So as you can see, best select your traits carefully. There are some that can't be paired with others, for example like introvert and extrovert, and certain religion or faction based traits. But all in all, these traits are going to have an effect on your game from the outset, which makes Starfield one of the most immersive RPG games out there to date. Right, let's talk about the skills we can invest in along the way of the Starfield story. These are split up into 5 different categories, and those are physical, social, combat, science and tech. And as you probably guessed, we'll earn XP as we explore Starfield and follow its storyline, so then we can improve our skills amongst these skill trees. And these skills can be tailored to serve the type of character that you're building. So for example, if you want to play at range, you could invest in the sniper certification underneath the combat category. And this is going to make sure that any scoped weapons you have are steadier and move less when you're aiming down the sights. Todd Howard has also appeared to suggest that the skills in Starfield have more than meets the eye, because he came out and said that certain categories will see improvements based on your background and starting skills, just like the ones I mentioned just a minute ago, and these will improve with constant practice. The quote was, "You can unlock new skills as you level up, and then you rank those skills up by using them and completing challenges." It sounds like these skill trees are incredibly in-depth, which is just great news to hear. So, as you'd probably guessed, Starfield has its very own dialogue and persuasion system, which further enhances the immersion of the game and gives you the opportunity to shape this brand new adventure in any way you choose. So, whilst a lot of people, perhaps myself included, will choose to run and gun their way through the game, you can actually invest in enough XP to be able to persuade NPCs to either do your bidding, back down for a confrontation, or many other things. Meaning there's going to be a lot less running and gunning, so to speak, if you take that approach. Todd Howard has said that Starfield has over 4 times as much dialogue in the game compared to that of Skyrim, so it looks like taking time to converse with NPCs will be a massive part of the experience, so it's definitely worth investing in some skills to give you the gift of the gab. I think one of the most highly anticipated aspects of Starfield must be the in-depth starship customization feature. We'll definitely be spending a hell of a lot of time on our ship, so the fact that we can fully customize them both inside and out is a huge plus point in my eyes. And from what we've seen so far, ships are modular, so we can modify almost any element of their design, ranging from the visual placement of our engines and cockpits to the entire shape of the damn thing. I honestly cannot wait to see what some players come up with for their starship designs once the game has been released. We'll even have the ability to decide how the power splits up between our shields, weapons and even lightspeed capabilities. We'll be able to buy and sell parts, make repairs and apparently even steal ships from the spaceport, so whatever ship you create will function exactly how you want it to, whether that be very good or not very bad. Each spaceport you're going to visit is going to have a ship technician, and they'll function basically as a vendor, so you'll do your shopping there, you'll do some selling there, and you'll even look for specific crew members. I honestly cannot wait to get stuck into this part of the game. Right, moving on to Outposts. So Starfield is going to let us create outposts almost anywhere in the universe, and by mixing and matching various components we can create a whole host of wonderful things. And these can range from a home on a beautiful planet to a mining facility or even a manufacturing facility. And it seems we're going to be able to have multiple bases scattered throughout the game universe, and we can also crew them with companions and NPCs. So similarly to how Starship customization is going to work, Outposts will use a modular system where we can join a range of modules together to make our own giant outpost. Now some of these modules include things like habitation units to house both us and our outpost crews, and if we leave crews there they'll keep things running smoothly for us while we're off gallivanting away. The different planets in the Starfield universe are going to contain different valuable resources, so if we find a planet that has what we need, we can build a mining outpost there and mine it for resources. The mining outpost, an example, will obviously require extractors, and if we want to build a manufacturing facility of some kind, we're also going to need research and crafting stations. More on that in just a minute. Sounds like we can also add security bots and watchtowers to our outpost, which probably suggests they may need defending at some point. And one final thing to note in this outpost overview is there is in fact a build limit, and not to mention everything comes at a price, so you are going to need to be very careful with your budget when building these as well. So, as I briefly alluded to, crafting and research systems are said to play a very important role in Starfield, so not only will we be able to unlock mods and gear for our character, weapons and spacesuit, but it will also be involved heavily in our outpost expansions. We're going to be able to run research projects to improve almost all aspects of our game, yet further deepening the amount of things we can modify, and currently we know there are 5 different categories of research we can partake in. Those are pharmacology, food and drink, outpost development, equipment, and finally weaponry. So by undertaking these research projects, we'll get our hands on improved gear. So an example would be upgrading outpost development is going to increase things like resource extraction from a planet's surface, and undertaking a pharmacology project will give us performance enhancers or improved medical gear. It's likely that, depending on what type of background and traits we pick earlier in the game, that we could speed up the time it takes to undertake these projects, so make sure you spend some time picking those carefully in comparison to your desired playstyle. And finally, let's talk about mods. As with previous Bethesda's titles, Todd Howard has confirmed that we're going to be getting full mod support from day one, meaning all of you modders out there can do all sorts of weird and wonderful things with the game straight away. There are not really any further details around mods, but it looks like it definitely won't be scaled back from their previous games. I mean, hell, it might even be more in depth, but it certainly won't be long before we find out. And there you have it, folks. There is an essential in-depth preview to Starfield before we can all get our hands on it this week, and for some of us next week. I hope you found this video useful, and if you did, it would be totally awesome if you could support my channel by hitting those like and subscribe buttons. And as always, thank you for watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.